Madden and Benz, Unfiltered. After the Super Bowl, Tim Benz and Mark Madden with you. Glad that you're with us here, courtesy of Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. They've got over 500 available craft beers, 80 rotating taps. Get yourself a steak and a stone and meet me at Mike's. All the hockey games going on over in Italy, you can watch those at Mike's Beer Bar across the street from PNC Park at the base of the Clemente Bridge. Anything in terms of college basketball you want to watch, NBA, it's all at Mike's Beer Bar on the North Shore. We're going to get to the news of the day surrounding the Pirates. They're signing Marcell Ozuna in just a little bit. But Mark, for folks who haven't heard the podcast yet, your initial reaction to the Super Bowl was what yesterday?
Just wasn't good. I mean, all field goals for how long? Very little offense and almost not at all by New England till the death. Just not a good football game.
I thought you were right in what you said on the podcast about New England arriving a year early, especially in terms of looking at it through the lens of their quarterback, Drake May. As he went, so they went in that regard. Now the question becomes, is he Dan Marino, where he's really good but never gets back again? I don't even know if the Patriots are as good as those Dolphins teams were with or without Marino. We'll have to wait and see on that part. But I heard that reference during the Super Bowl broadcast from Mike Tirico, and I thought it made some sense to consider.
Yeah, it's hard to predict that when the kid's barely started his NFL career. It goes without saying it's really hard to make a Super Bowl. I mean, Josh Allen's never been in one. So you want to make the most of the opportunities you do get, and Drake May certainly didn't. That's fair to say. He did a good job getting them there. They had an easy schedule. They had a relatively easy playoff road, especially with Denver missing Bo Nix for that game, the AFC Championship. But whoever gets there. And I don't think it's a lock they'll get back. You'd like to think so for May's sake, but I don't know.
And from a Seattle perspective, I don't even know if this edition of the Seahawks is as good as the 2013 team that won it and then went back the next year before losing to New England. In both cases, Mark, it's not like you look at these two teams and say, well, they're a lock to even win their division again. Buffalo could come back and be better. We'll see with Allen there. And you know how difficult the NFC West is.
Well, both teams were beneficiaries of the parity in today's NFL, which isn't necessarily very entertaining. I thought this was an all-time low year for the NFL for entertainment value. I just don't think there were very many good teams, and certainly not even one great team. The furthest I'd go in describing the Seahawks is very good, but no better.
I'm going to write about this today for Trib Live about Sam Darnold, and I know it was going on at the Super Bowl gathering that we had. People playing the what-if game if Darnold had been here. How much better would it be? How would it have worked out? I don't even know if it's the right what-if game to play, Mark. What if they had bothered to wait and talk to Kubiak as opposed to just hiring Mike McCarthy before the championship games were hardly over?
Yeah, Kubiak took the Vegas job, right?
He announced that yesterday, yes, and everybody assumed that was the case all week, but yes.
Yeah, wow, I don't know if that's going to serve him well. I know people like to be a head coach, and he'll be drafting Mendoza, although I'm not as high on Mendoza as a pro as some are. I think he's the best quarterback in what turned out to be a not very good draft for quarterbacks after all the hype surrounding the QB class, but that obviously went way south. The biggest impact that I've been hearing, the takeaway for Steelers fans from the Super Bowl, is that Seattle's only had one losing season in the past 14, so you don't have to burn it down. Okay, but New England did. That's how they got Drake May. And Seattle went out and made a bold move at quarterback, signing Sam Darnold 3 years, $100 million, something the Steelers would never do. The Steelers are running it back with a 43-year-old this coming season. So whatever you think of how Seattle did it or how New England did it, don't do it how the Steelers are doing it, because all it gets you is the mushy middle.
I don't know what they were afraid of as to where Mike McCarthy would have gone if they wanted to talk to Kubiak. And even if he said, no, I want to go to Vegas anyway because they have the number one pick. Who else was hiring McCarthy?
I don't think the Steelers know what they're doing. That's the synopsis. They just want to go 9-8. They settle for it. They wallow in it. They think if you get in, you have a chance. But how many times? The last 9 years, when they do get in, they've not had a chance. They've gotten slaughtered. They don't know what they're doing.
I saw the Pelissero report from over the weekend that said chances are improving that Aaron Rodgers winds back up with the Steelers. And the first thing that hit me was improving from what? I mean, that felt like a lock the minute that they hired McCarthy. Does that just mean that the Vikings don't have interest? He doesn't have interest in the Vikings? I would think that would be the only thing that would be a wild card in any of this.
I refuse to believe that he would not have interest in the Vikings.
So they don't have interest in him then?
I guess not. That would be the funniest thing that could happen, by the way, if Rodgers went to Minnesota. Oh, how I'd laugh.
Yeah, after it didn't happen last year, and now McCarthy is here, and they're the ones that are going to Rodgers way more than even Rodgers is going to them. I don't know how you split the difference on that, Mark, but I do know this. I had a discussion on DVE this morning. We talked about this angle. I know that Pursuit and I disagree on this. He kind of looks at Rodgers from the lens of, this is the guy that led the second half, not comeback, but victory against the Ravens. I look at it as a guy who went 1 in 5 against playoff teams, and his numbers weren't very good against those playoff teams. And he's probably not going to be as good as he was last year in terms of health. You can only hope the offense around him will be better because at least this guy knows a little something about offense that he's working for.
Well, I think most guys who cover the Steelers, they want 9-8 just like the team does. I don't think they'd know what to do if the team did go 4-13, because when they go 4-13, you can't help but criticize. And they're not used to doing it because they don't want to do it. So I think that's why, a lot of Steelers media wants Rodgers to come back.
All right, so we want your comments on the Steelers, want your comments on the Super Bowl. Also want to get to the Pirates news of the day for people who might be just finding this out within the hour. Marcell Ozuna is coming to Pittsburgh. A lot of reports over the weekend about this ended up yielding fact this time, as opposed to the Pirates just being tangentially leaked and linked to someone. This guy they actually got. 1 year, $12 million contract. According to Jeff Passan, the deal will pay Ozuna $10.5 million this year with a $16 million option that has a buyout of $1.5 million. So those are the details in the contract. Mark, what do you think about it?
Well, his home runs dropped from 31 to 19 this past year, so that's why they got him. And he's 34, so that's why they got him. I mean, he's not a bad kid. It means the end of Andrew McCutchen's time in Pittsburgh, because I'm thinking Ozuna has to be the full-time DH. And that's good. I mean, Kutch turned into a whiny dink the last how many years. And at some point, you got to turn the page. You got to just do something different, not least if you're a team that's been as bad as the Pirates for as long as they have.
I thought it was 39 to 21 was his dip. Let me double check on that. I'm looking for that right. Close enough either way. But, yeah, the point is made. Yeah, 39 to 21. RBIs went down 104 to 68. But, his bat didn't have as much juice to it, and he doesn't do anything but hit. I mean, the thing about this, and now maybe, Mark, this dovetails back to what we were talking about on the podcast. Maybe now we know where Kutch was going with that whole thing that he put on social media with the washed up music in the background and the tag on social media. He sees this as some big narrative that's working against him. That
it's not all about him. He's
right.
Not Willie Stargell. He's not Roberto Clemente. He's not Dave Parker. He's in his second tenure with the Pirates. He left Pittsburgh to glory hunt and to ring chase and to get more money. And now he's back and he's acting like he's owed everything. He's owed nothing. He's gotten everything he can out of this franchise. They treated him fairly. Now he needs to F off.
He seems to think like it's up to him when he goes. It's not really like that. He can retire whenever he wants, but the Pirates can also say thanks, but no thanks. And I don't know where he plays now if Ozuna's here. And on top of that, Mark, for all the Pirates fans who the past couple of weeks have been pushing back against this part of the conversation, which is the Pirates might be better off if he leaves, there's always been a response of, yeah, but his number's here, or yeah, but his number's there. They'll find whatever stat they want to throw out there to make it worthwhile for Kutch to come back, and it usually ends up with, well, who do they have that's better? Well, now they just got a guy who's better, could potentially be a lot better, and I don't think we're going to hear as much clamor about keep Kutch now that they got Ozuna from the same people.
Yeah, we will.
What, have them both?
You're going to hear from all the fans that cover the Pirates. Kutch deserves better. He deserves better. F Kutch. F Kutch. F Kutch. Kutch, if you're watching, F you, F off. I'm tired of this guy. I'm tired of him acting like the city, the franchise, everybody else owes him a living. And Tim, in a city famous for whining athletes these days, he is above and beyond. He is the MVP of whining.
Where do we go from here in terms of projections with them now that he's here? This doesn't move the needle all that much for you in terms of wins and losses, does it? Or where they finish in the standings?
No, I mean, you could guess that they're a 500 team. I still bet they're not.
Well, I mean, I saw, was it Jim Bowden from The Athletic, wherever the Athletic, I think, is where he's writing. And he gave them an A- grade for their offseason. This is before they got Ozuna. So what is it now, an A+? And then when I looked at what that grade meant, he still predicted that they'd be a fourth-place team in the NL Central. I mean, that's a hell of a curve for an A-, I guess, then.
Yeah, I mean, Jim Bowden has a lot of inside information. If he could evaluate talent, he'd still be doing it somewhere. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much better they are. They'll be better, but yeah, I'd say fourth in the Central. Who do you have finishing last?
I can't. Well, I don't know because he just kind of went by grade. I didn't look to see the entire NL Central. I think I just looked through the grade bracketing.
Yeah, I mean, if people expect a playoff push, I mean, probably not.
Well, I mean, a playoff push in Major League Baseball these days means 83 wins, 84 wins. I could see them being an 80-win team. Like, they could win 9 or 10 more games than they did a year ago, and that puts you on the fringe of the discussion or maybe even in it if you sweep an extra series or something like that.
Well, with the pitching you have, it means nothing if you don't make the playoffs. Anything short of the playoffs would be a failure on management's part to assemble a good enough team around the pitching.
Are you saying, Mark, Marcell Ozuna come and get some?
No, I think I might knock that on the head this week.
What about the Olympics? How do you think Team USA does? Do they medal?
Yeah, I think they'll probably medal. I mean, I don't think they're going to win. I think Yoey had a real good tweet where he said something like Crosby has 3 Stanley Cups and 6 international gold medals. He's Canada's captain. The U.S. captain, Austin Matthews, has won 2 playoff series total.
Well, there's something there. I do like Canada, obviously, just because of the vast array of talent. But I always feel like we say this, it's always going to come down to Canada and the U.S. Then a lot of times one of the 2 Scandinavian countries slips in if Russia is not available, and Russia is not available. So
I'm glad Kucherov finally said it's not best on best without Russia there. It's good somebody said it out loud.
I thought somebody else, even one of the Canadian guys, had said that too recently. I'm trying to remember who it was, but somebody else had voiced that opinion as well.
The bottom line is Kuch is right. It's not true best on best without them there, and they should be there. They absolutely should be there.
Chinakhov should be there. Chinakhov might be the best player in the Olympics.
No, he wouldn't be at the Olympics.
Well, the way he's playing, he's certainly playing like an Olympian. He's playing like an all-star for sure.
I saw a projected Russian roster. He was not on it. Too little, too late to make that roster. At any rate, it's moot.
Where the Penguins are going in, Mark, you know, that Buffalo game, it probably is forgotten by the time everybody comes back, but it was just nice to not go wheezing in, having nearly blown 1 game, then losing 2 more prior to that Buffalo win. And it was an important win in the standings based on how the wild card and divisional situations align.
Yeah, it's a big win. No, they will remember that when they come back. It would have been bad to go into the break with a 3-game losing streak to think about. That was a good win, especially given the injuries. Avery Hayes getting a goal in his first shot, then 2 total. The rookie scoring 4 of the total goals. Another rookie, Shilov's in net. It was a good win.
What'd you think of the Super Bowl broadcast itself, Mark? Did you see anything fun? Well, you were at a big gathering, right? So you're out in Imperial.
I couldn't hear anything, let alone Bad Bunny.
I had Bad Bunny on in the background. I just love the fact that the entire internet is fascinated with the trees. The funniest thing I ever saw on the internet after that was the one guy sent the tweet out saying, "Hey, look, did you see I was in the Super Bowl halftime show? I was foliage number 246. Hey, it shows up on your SAG-AFTRA card, I guess. They got $1,300 for being trees. That's not a bad deal. I'll take that."
Well, the whole thing about Bad Bunny was I didn't pay attention. He's not my thing, okay? It doesn't bother me that he's Puerto Rican or speaks Spanish. That description also applied to Roberto Clemente, who Pittsburghers really seem to like. But what I don't understand, well, I do understand because I'm an old white guy. Old white guys think that the entire universe is built around them, and it's not. People like me weren't supposed to get Bad Bunny, weren't supposed to watch Bad Bunny, but Bad Bunny got Latino eyes on the Super Bowl. It got more female eyes on the Super Bowl. It added viewers that would normally not have. And it didn't chase any viewers away, except maybe specifically during the halftime show. So anybody who doesn't think that Bad Bunny should have been the halftime performer doesn't get the purpose of what the halftime performer is supposed to bring to the telecast, which is more eyes.
Yeah, I don't really care about his music. I think all the halftime shows are so gimmicked beyond understanding. I can't imagine what that looked like in the stadium. Same thing for last year's performance, too.
Tim, my favorite halftime shows ever were, I forget what year, but Don catching a Frisbee is number one. And then in 1974, Miss Texas played the fiddle.
I like the fact that the Steelers still bring those dogs to catch Frisbees at least twice a year at halftime. At least twice a year at halftime, and every dog takes a crap in the same spot on the field, right about where Boswell lines up for a 60-yard field goal.
I also liked Up With People.
That was 1980, right? That was the Super Bowl.
There were five of them. They just kept coming back.
Wait, they came back 5 times?
Yeah, Tim, I think there were a couple years they weren't supposed to be there, and he just showed up. They said, okay, go ahead on.
All right, let's get to some comments. This is Alec who says, Team USA won figure skating gold. Also love the halftime show. A message of unity and love. I don't care about the message either. I just don't care. I didn't want to get wrapped up in the politics of all of it because I don't care about the music. I don't care about the performer. You take a stand. Now all of a sudden you're on one side of the fence that you didn't need to be on.
My other favorite halftime show was Aerosmith. Not even because it was Aerosmith, because they played, of their 3 songs, they played 2 I don't like. The Armageddon song, which traditionally was my bathroom break when I went to their concerts, and Jaded, like 2 of their poppy songs. But it also featured Britney Spears coming out for Walk This Way. And she was basically dressed in saran wrap. and she was in her prime then. Like, she was the best looking woman in the world for a short time. And Tyler and Perry looked at her like she was a lamb chop.
I got to find what Super Bowl that was. It's good. I'll look for it at some point while we're doing questions and answers here. But I can't remember if that was one of the Patriots Super Bowls or not. How far back was that? Was that in the 90s? That was in the 90s, right? That was before.
I don't know, but you don't think that Britney Spears would have, did the group portrait with Aerosmith, do you?
I have no idea.
I don't, old for her. Old for her.
I don't know how crazy she was back then. Maybe now she would. Now she probably would.
I know they still definitely would. They're still Aerosmith.
Eric says, methinks Seattle didn't miss DK at all. They didn't even miss Jackson Smith and Jigba last night, for Christ's sake. Yeah, they didn't miss DK. They had the best wide receiver in the NFL who hardly played, didn't do much, and they still won the Super Bowl.
You know, they had a good game was Christian Gonzalez in a losing effort. They did a cut-up of him in the fourth quarter. A lot of the passes he defended, he did very well.
Ron says, congrats to Avery Hayes for his first career AHL hat trick. I think that's what he meant there. After scoring 2 goals in the Buffalo win on Thursday. Yeah, whatever it takes to keep it going. I mean, he was a guy that intrigued in camp, Mark. And then he got hurt. Didn't he get hurt early on in the AHL season or something?
Yeah, I think so. I think he should play his next game in Wheeling and see if he scores 4 goals.
Mark says the Steelers never take a big swing anymore. Yeah, I don't think McCarthy's a big swing.
What do you mean anymore?
Well, I guess you could say that DK counted as a big swing at the time because it was 5 years and $30 million a year or whatever it was.
What a terrible signing.
They still need a number 1 receiver. They're paying that much, but they still need a number 1 receiver, which is why they got to go in that direction in the draft if there's no good quarterbacks available, and apparently there won't be.
They got to get a wide receiver with the first pick.
Mike says, with Ozuna signing with the Pirates, do you both think that Cutch won't be back this coming year? I don't see what the point would be to bringing him back now. He seems to be redundant at this point.
Unless you put Ozuna at first base, which I don't see. You know what does well? I mean, I think O'Hearn's going to be in the outfield, which is kind of dumb because he's a pretty good fielding first baseman. But I think they're going to want to play Horwitz at first base, don't you?
Well, yeah, John says here they still need a third baseman. They do still need a third baseman unless they think that Ozuna's back can offset just putting a glove over there like Triolo. I don't know, but that might be where their heads are on it.
Where's Nick Gonzalez going to play?
Yeah, you could also do that. You can have him go over and play third if you wanted to.
I'd rather have him play third than Triolo.
This one says from Mark, after Rodgers retires next year, who's next? Cousins? I don't think, what are you talking about after this year? Cousins might still be kicking around. Yeah, but at what point are you going to try to get a franchise quarterback? To draft one, sign one, trade for one? And if McCarthy's here to develop a guy, There's no sense in having McCarthy if the first 2 years of his coaching contract are spent coaching Rodgers and Cousins. Like, those guys don't need to be developed. That's defeating the point of bringing McCarthy in the first place.
Tim, I think this goes back to the point where I remind you that they don't know what they're doing.
I didn't ask about Cousins. That guy did.
I know. I'm reminding all of you.
Brian says, are you going to buy a 20-game package for the Buccos this season now that Ozuna's on board?
No.
How many games will you go to in the Lexus Club?
I didn't go to any last year.
Oh, you didn't go to any? You usually go to at least one or two, right?
Yeah, no, I went to one the year before. I'm just not interested.
RJ says, Mark and Tim, Glazer reported the Seattle incident with DK had vindicated him. Was he lying also? How were the guess who? I think you mean the Detroit incident. I don't know what Seattle incident he's talking about, but unless he's talking about what had happened in Detroit with Seattle.
Yeah, forget this guy. We shouldn't need a translator.
Jason
and for
says,
the guess who, I'll let you guess.
Jason says, waiting on Rodgers. Cam says he wants to come back. TJ wanted paid and won't change positions. When do the players start running this franchise? Remember when they got rid of Polamalu and Harrison? Well, they also had Harrison come back, and then Harrison fell asleep in a Barca lounger a couple times, and then he had to pout his way out. Same thing with Ingram, pouted his way out. This has been going on for a while.
I want to point out one of the things that gets underplayed because we all love TJ Watt. He's clearly in decline. Nobody could deny that. He only had 7 sacks this year, and he only had 1 multi-sack game. And he's refusing to do anything different. How does a guy in decline who just signed a deal worth $41 million per refuse what the coaches want? But he is, and that's ridiculous.
And now you've got Mike McCarthy coming on board and verbalizing love letters to the old-fashioned 3-4 defense. Not only does it sound like he doesn't want it changed, he wants to rewind the clock back to when, Quiver and Quake were here back in the early 90s.
Who were Quiver and Quake?
Lloyd and Green.
Ugh.
He's the one that brought it up. He's talked about 1992 when Dom Capers was here.
He didn't call them Quiver and Quake.
No, he didn't call them that, but he was talking about when Capers brought the 3-4 here, which is when those two were here.
Greg Lloyd and Kevin Green were almost the same guy, even though they couldn't have been more different, if you get my drift.
Yeah, that's probably why they got along to the degree that they did.
Right.
To whatever extent that was for 3 years? Is that what Green's career was here? Green was only here for 3 years.
Kevin Green was one of the biggest jerk-offs I've ever dealt with.
Was that because of what happened in WCW?
Well, that was where I got to know him, but yeah, what a dink.
This comes from Pete towards the bottom of our comments. Will they give Will Howard a chance? Not so long as Rodgers is healthy, they won't.
I think if Rodgers would get hurt, they would go to Rudolph first, depending on what point in the season they're at and what their record is.
They should.
I think the Will Howard stuff's all lip service by Art and McCarthy.
Yeah, if they're talking about McCarthy as a quarterback developer, like I said before, I'm not sure how much more blood he's going to get from the stone that is Mason Rudolph. You might as well see if he's that good of a developer. Can you do something with Howard? And what he can do, I don't know. I always keep telling people, nobody talked about Landry Jones, Mason Rudolph, Brian St. Pierre, Omar Jacobs, any of these guys with, hey, what if you got a diamond in a rough? You never talked about him that way because you had the diamond. His name was Ben Roethlisberger. So we never talked about what this guy could be. We're only talking about Howard and what he could be to satiate our own hope that they're going to have a quarterback again someday.
I have no idea why people have latched on to Howard. I think it's absurd.
Do you think Ben gets in as a first-time ballot, a first-time Hall of Fame entrant next year?
I think he should. I don't think he will. I won't be outraged if he doesn't. I don't think that's as big a deal as people make out. People act like you're not in the Hall of Fame if you don't go in on the first ballot. The Hall of Fames are just all screwed up on so many levels.
I don't know if Lev Bell ever even gets to the level.
No chance.
I was going to say even to the semifinal level where Hines is. I don't know if he even gets that far.
Hines has been a finalist, I thought.
He might have been. Yeah, you're right. I got to the final level. But AB, if they're in the mode right now of punishing people, does AB get punished? I think he does.
Well, and you can make the argument, too, that even though his prime was incredible, it was very short.
No shorter than Lynn Swann's.
Yeah, maybe the tiebreakers Lindsey Vonn wasn't a raving lunatic.
This is Richard who says, I would find it hilarious if Rodgers made the Steelers wait and then pull the rug out from under them and then sign with Minnesota. If he wants to win or, has eyes or designs on playing with a better offense, the players are there in Minnesota more than they are here. It's just a matter of the coaching. And he knows a relationship with Mike McCarthy. It didn't end well. I don't know what he thinks about Kevin O'Connell, to be frank.
Boy, did Minnesota really blow it by letting Darnold go. And all they had to do was franchise him. All they had to do was hedge their bet. That's the one thing the franchise tag does. In some ways, it can be used as the biggest value of the tag is to hedge your bet for 1 year on a position like this.
This is about the halftime show. Mark, the halftime show is to be able to entice new audience. I bet K-pop will be selected next year to invite Asian American viewers.
Well, if you want to make light, that's fine. But I know a lot more about this industry than you marks out there. And that's why somebody like Bad Bunny gets the slot.
Well, yeah, they're absolutely trying to expand the audience. And, they're always trying.
I just don't see why it's that important. I don't see why the president had to make a political issue of it. But I do because it's to distract from the heinous things he's doing.
Bill says, does Team USA even have a realistic chance at bronze?
Yeah. Yeah, they could win gold. I don't like their roster, but it's a good roster, if that makes sense.
Jason says, go Team Canada. Good luck to Sid. I'm sure he'll have plenty of people rooting for him.
I am.
More than the Stars and Stripes, especially nowadays. Like you said, Mark, with the country is divided as it is. This goes back to your conversation that you were having about the new 1980 documentary. And I've written about this. I had a column up on the Trib site years ago talking about this. We're never going to have another opportunity for a miracle like that again because we can never get behind the country like we did back then.
Right. I mean, the circumstances won't repeat because there's no evil empire to play against. If there was, it might be us. There's no scenario of collegians versus pros, which is what it was when the U.S. played the Soviets in 1980. But even if you could exactly replicate, if you could transplant 1980 and what happened exactly to today, we would ruin it. We would want to know which players were red, which players were blue. The president would say something stupid again, and we would just ruin it.
One last one I want to get to. This one just came in. Didn't Omar Khan tell Rodgers that they needed to know in about a month? Yeah, they said about a month, 2 months in a row before they finally allowed him to make his decision in June. They better do something before March this year. But then again, what if he doesn't? They can always bring him back for next to no money because I don't know who they're going to draft. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to go out of their way to bring anybody in of significant.
He's got to decide by March. He's got to decide before free agency. You can't let the friggin' tail wag the dog. Again.
Again, it was silly last time, but they could afford to be silly. This time he's their guy. And you, at least for an employee who might be coming back, you can say we deserve an answer before free agency.
That's right. No question.
So I don't know what Khan said. I don't remember him saying that specifically at the press conference.
Well,
if he did,
their big worry is, Tim, and I know for sure it was their worry last year, that if you put him to a decision, if you give him a deadline, he will rebel against that and say no.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to have a boss.
They want him back so badly, for better or worse.
All right, Mark. So viewing parties, you doing any of those for Olympic hockey?
No, the games are during the day.
Are they all during? That's right. I guess they all are during the day when you can't because you're. Hey, you could ditch the show and go do viewing parties.
I've thought about it.
Not a bad idea. If the big screen is there in Creighton, why not go up there?
Although I do love watching games like Liverpool games, even though we're in 7th place currently. I love watching games during my show. Anything that keeps me from paying attention to the show, I enjoy.
Are there any Team USA games that are on while you're on the air? Have you looked at the schedule? There are.
Canada too, yes. Absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right. We will be back next week. Even though there's no football anymore, we're going to keep going. Madden and Benz Unfiltered here.
Hopefully the Buccos just keep signing great players, Tim.
That's right. And when the Pirates are sold out every night because of all the big players that they're signing, you can go to Mike's Beer Bar across the street. We are brought to you courtesy of Mike's. Meet me at Mike's on the North Shore.